Hey guys, one of the questions a lot of people have, and they've been asking, Eric W. Schwartz over the past 25 years, is why he never gave us that moment we've been wanting between Sabrina and Zig-Zag, even though he's teased it. And the other question being, could have it been done, if you will, and if could it still be done? Basically, could it have been and still be done, and mostly why didn't he do it? Well, I think Eric has answered on several occasions with Q&As with fans that the reason why he never did it is because he wanted to establish the fact that Sabrina, in continuity, is a straightforward girl. She's into guys, she's a nerd, she loves geek and pop culture, she collects Transformers, she likes working on Amiga computers, things like that. He wanted to establish that setup for Sabrina's character from the get-go. And in continuity, he had Sabrina do the same thing for herself by having her basically, punch Zig-Zag right in the face because Zig-Zag was coming on to her to kind of establish, hey, I'm not that kind of a girl. I don't know where you got that idea. And what's surprising is you would think in story, because even Sabrina in story brought this up, you would think Zig-Zag would fire her or be upset, but Zig-Zag, surprisingly, in a show of strong character development, is understanding and accepting of the fact that, hey, you know, you were in the right. I was overstepping my boundaries. You were in the right. I succumbed to my vices. I was becoming somebody I didn't like. And, the rest is history. And the relationship kind of started to grow and be more of an understanding, respectful relationship of, okay, Zigzag knows where her boundaries are, as an employee and if not as a friend when it comes to the likes of Sabrina, unlike all her other employees who are like, hey, I'm open to getting in bed with you and doing the whoop-de-whoop, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, that's what. So basically, to answer the question as to why, that's the why. Because it's established that she is a very straightforward, non-bisexual character that's into guys, that's into pop culture, geeky pop culture, into Amiga computers, into Transformers, and the rest is history. But the other question is, could it have and still be done? And I honestly think, in my opinion, yes. I think if Eric W. Schwartz decided to, visit that concept, especially with his Fur After Dark spin-off site, which is an expansion and a more adult, erotic kind of mature site, connected to Sabrina-Online. I think yes, he could. I think he could. I think it could have been done, and I think it still could be done if he decided to go revisit that concept. But there's one more question you have to wonder, or you have to ask, that connects with the could it be or could it have and still be done. There's a question that connects with that question, and that is, how do you set it up? How do you make it happen? Now, it's pretty much it was pretty much established in one of the final stories of the first year, the first 10 years, basically the 10th year, if you will, of the franchise existence. It's pretty much established that Zigzag and Sabrina are becoming friends more than just employee and employer. They had a night out with each other to get to know each other better. And let's just say there came a moment when they went to a bar, did some karaoke, and had a few too many drinks. That Zigzag had to be the one that, along with her friend Tina the Lynx, who is a bisexual friend with benefits, if you know what I mean, had to drive Sabrina home and put her to bed. And there's a moment afterwards when Zigzag and Tina get home that Zigzag comes to the realization, like, oh my gosh, I had the perfect opportunity to be in bed with Sabrina, and she wouldn't have known it because she was too out of it. It would have been like a hello, good morning, surprise kind of deal, you know. Um, But yeah, it was. But yeah, that's one of the major moments to where, or one of the major moments to where it's teased that you had an opportunity to see it probably happen, but Eric didn't pull the trigger. But speaking of Zig-Zag, when it comes to some of the stories that are in context that he's actually done over at Four After Dark, when it comes to her character, there's one called Adventure Begins at Home where it introduces us to Helen Dish, who is the mother of one of the people online that was trolling Zig-Zag. And this is a little after Zig-Zag discovers or gets introduced to the internet by, Sabrina, gets introduced to interactive webcams, like live cams and all that. And basically, she starts getting trolled, so she makes it her mission in a sub arc to go after these trolls and give them a piece of her mind. And she encounters Helen Dish, who, like I said, is the mother of one of the trolls. And let's just say things get a little intimately dicey and very erotic, if you know what I'm saying, between the two later on. Now, with that said, you look at that and you say, well, how does that tie into, the question of could it have and still be done, and and the other question that ties into that of how would it be set up? Well, I think honestly, if they wanted to kind of keep it in context to that time frame, if not the final or the 10th year of the comic's existence in continuity, I think what they could have done honestly is they could have had Zigzag and Sabrina go out one more time, maybe as a bit of a, because one of the things they set up towards the end of the second year, and I think they could have done it here if you wanted to, is Sabrina was going to get, is that RC, who became her online boyfriend, virtually and then physically, decided to propose to her, and Sabrina accepted. So the best way this could have been done, in my opinion, is they could have had Zigzag take Sabrina out for another girls' night out, kind of like a bachelorette, a wedding gift to her. One more shindig before she starts to settle down. Just the two of them. And you could have kind of done a repeat of the last time where Sabrina has a little too much, and but so does Zigzag. But instead of calling on Tina to pick them up, they decided to check in a hotel. And what Eric could do if he wanted to revisit this, if he wanted to actually go down this route, and keep it in context, like with the earlier years, not now, because Sabrina in story has a daughter, but have it take place like years, have it take place like beforehand, like before the wedding and all that, to kind of make things really interesting. Like I said, you could have a kind of like a retake of what they did at the end, towards the end of the tenth year. Have them do that again here towards the end of the 20th year, and the end result is you have both Zigzag and Sabrina kind of a little wasted, but Zigzag's sober enough to be like, hey, we can't go home like this. I can't even call Tina like this. Let me check us into a hotel. We'll be fine. And then what would make things really interesting, and I'm sure Eric's thought about something like this kind of scenario, is if you were to make this moment finally happen, that it should be Sabrina that comes on to Zigzag's sort of a, make it sort of a callback to when Zigzag tried to come on to Sabrina during that first time, but this time have Sabrina come on to Zigzag, but do it because she's so wasted and she's so out of it, but and she just needs to get all this sexual tension she's suddenly built up out of nowhere, out of her. And she, maybe in her drunken state, she's like, you know what, Zigzag, you've been wanting me, I'm gonna give you me, or something like that. um and Zigzag, of course, being a little sober, could be like, whoa, wait a minute, Sabrina, are you okay? And this is a side of you I didn't think we'd see. Maybe it's because you're drunk. And before she could say any more, you could have Sabrina hush her with a kiss on the lips, and Zigzag just immediately accepts it, and the rest is history. You go from there, if you know what I mean. You have them get into that intimacy, that's known to be shown and read in these very erotic adult stories. And that's how it could be done. Like, oh, that's, how you could set it up. Like, again, this basically would answer these two questions that tie into each other. Could it could it have and still be done? Yes. And the question that ties into it, how do you set it up? Well, there you go. You have it tie in. You have it take place, towards in the time frame before the wedding and everything, kind of like a rehash of the first girls' night out between Zig and Sabrina, and you go from there. Another way you can make it happen, like could still happen. Another way you can make it happen is you have Zig-Zag have have a dream, have a fantasy dream of her and Sabrina, getting it on, and you have Sabrina be the one that, in fantasy, in Zigzag's dream in fantasy, be the one that says, hey, I have a surprise for you, Zigzag. Meet me at this place. Meet me at this hotel room so I can give you that surprise. Zigzag, in her fantasy, sees, wait a minute, why is she giving me a hotel key? Goes into the hotel and then sees Sabrina walking out in a leather lace or whatever kind of sexy outfit, and says, hey, you know what, I've been thinking about it. I got permission from RC, and all that. I'm gonna make your wildest fantasies come true now. It's just me and you. Let's get it on, if you know what I mean. And there you go. And that could take place in the realm of fantasy because it's being dreamt up by Zigzag. So that's another way it could still happen and how you could set it up to happen. The other way, of course, a third way, is make it an alternate reality. Kind of make it like, kind of explore that reality, that dimension, that universe, to where Sabrina is everything that she's not in the Prime universe. But Zigzag's pretty much the same. But Zigzag's one of those characters that no matter what dimensions or universe you cross, she still remains the same. And you just go with that. You don't need any other explanation except the fact that it's just an alternate reality, an alternate dimension universe, and that Zigzag's pretty much the same in the Prime here as she is in the Prime universe, but Sabrina's the one that's different because Sabrina's everything here that she's not in the Prime. So, yeah, that's another way you could do it. So again, I just wanted to come out and do this video, kind of, in my opinion, give you my explanation, my thoughts onto why Eric W. Schwartz never did the thing between Zig-Zag and Sabrina in continuity and all that, as well as answer the question that leads into another question of could it have and still be done, which is yes, and basically answer the question that ties into that of how it could be done, of how you would set it up to be done. And again, like I said, the three answers I give you there are, have the first opportunity, the first way they could do it, as part of the Four After Dark webcomic series, is have, Zigzag take Sabrina out for a bachelorette, just the two of them, like a second girls' night out, early wedding gift and all that. Have them get plastered, but to the point that Zigzag's sober enough to realize, hey, I can't even call up Tina to pick us up. Let's just go check in this hotel, and then you just kind of go from there. Like I said, you have Sabrina in her drunken state be the one that starts to hit on Zigzag, which surprises her, and before Zigzag can kind of protest or kind of snap her out of it, you have Sabrina kiss her on the lips and just, let dominoes fall from there. The other way it could still be done, if Eric W. Schwartz wanted to visit this, is through the realm of fantasy and dreams, mostly Zigzag's dream and fantasy of it happening, where, in her dream and fantasy, Sabrina's not drunk or anything, she's just herself, and she says she wants to give Sabrina a surprise, maybe a birthday gift or something, and there you go. The other way is alternate universe dimension, to where Zigzag's pretty much the same in that dimension as she is in the Prime one, but Sabrina is the exact opposite of what she is sexually, I should say, sexual stance and all that, than what she is in the Prime universe. So, yeah, just again thought I'd come on here, and I know it sounded like I rambled a bit. I'm a little bit tired. It is late, but I wanted to come on here and just give you my thoughts on, and answer the question of why it never happened, or answer several questions of why it never happened, and as well as could it have and still be done, as well as how would you set it up. So, but let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you on this. What are your thoughts? Do you think any of the scenarios could have been done if Eric W. Schwartz still wanted to go down that route? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. And I am out. Have a good night.